Welcome to episode 32 of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. I'm Marcin, and joining me in the squared circle are Chris and Andres. We're coming at you from the heart of the wrestling world, Chicago, Illinois, with a special edition of the podcast today. We're diving into an exclusive interview with Nikki Rebol, a wonderful indie wrestler who also works as a vet tech and is a close friend. We'll talk about their journey in the ring, their life outside wrestling, and everything in between. Don't forget, we always want to hear from you. Send us your thoughts, questions, and wildest predictions to chitownshootpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll tackle them in a future episode. With that said, welcome, Nikki. Nicole or Nikki? How do you want to be called?
I guess whatever. I don't care. I feel like everyone just calls me Nikki, so that's fine.
All right, Nikki.
That's what her wall says.
With the wall, so whatever the wall says.
Let's listen to the wall. Nikki, how are you doing? How are you doing today?
We're good.
Awesome. So I did mention that you are a friend. Chris, do you want to elaborate? Or maybe Nikki, you can elaborate how you...
why am I elaborating?
Yeah, exactly.
I may or may not know Arlene. I don't know.
Yeah, Arlene is my wife, and they used to work together, and friends and all that stuff. So that's the connection there.
I miss her dearly. So worked with Arlene very closely as a tech assistant on my half, Arlene, a tech. But love working with her, and she was so great to learn things under. So I miss her a lot.
She misses you too.
And how long have you been working as a vet in the vet industry?
Yeah, so it's been 5 years already, which is a lot of years, which I've never really, I don't think about it until I'm just there and I'm like, oh shit, I've been here a long time.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because I've been doing my training for like 8 years, I think.
At Export?
Oh, damn.
Seems like it. 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while time flies, you learn that as you get older.
Yeah.
Right.
It flies when you're having fun and when you're also not having fun. So you're very confused about all of it. So you're just like, yeah, I think everything's good.
That's awesome. So, I mean, this is a wrestling podcast, so I want to ask you more about your vet stuff later, but I do want to start off kind of just picking your brain about pro wrestling and where you got your interest started in pro wrestling. Can you tell our audience a little bit how you got into pro wrestling?
Yeah, I got into pro wrestling with my dad and my uncle. They had always just been into wrestling like their entire life. So growing up, I was like the oldest, and I would just sit with them and watch it with them. And then it was like Monday nights, we would sit in the basement. We would like get the chairs situated. They would put me right in front of the TV, and I was like the queen. I was the queen, so I was the smallest one. And they're like, all right, you sit here and you watch it. And they sat in back, and then they would buy me dinner, and we would sit and watch wrestling, and that's just how I got into it. Like, the rest of it is just like, that's it. Like, I would just sit in the basement on Ashland Avenue watching pro wrestling and fell in love with it, and that was it.
That's awesome. And who would you say as a wrestler, who were you interested in? Who did you gravitate towards?
So my favorite wrestler was always The Undertaker. That was Oh yeah. That was always my main guy. And then for the women, it was always like Trish Stratus. Like, those are my little top two growing up.
I love that. I
actually just noticed of your Undertaker tattoo as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's he? Me trying to find him. There he is. And then
yeah.
Paul Bearer showing up later on in life. I did have plans to put like a little Kane mask in that little area, but I think I'm kind of just rethinking that a little bit. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's for later on.
Can you tell us the story of how you got those tattoos? When did you get the Undertaker and Paul Bearer tattoo?
Yeah, so I actually can't remember what year I got the Undertaker one, but I was at a convention and it was a guy that was like into wrestling and we talked about it for a while and he ended up doing that one and I stayed in contact with him and I followed up the following year with the Paul Bearer because I was like, I gotta get the Paul Bearer. Like he's gotta, it makes sense, you know, you gotta put them both together. And then I was like, yeah, I might follow up with the Kane, but I was after that I was like, actually that's we're not gonna follow up with that at all, actually. Like this is gonna be where it's at. It's bad enough I have to turn my cheek sometimes for this man, but like it is what it is. But yeah, once I like got the Taker one, I had already like the initial like symbol one, I guess. I had got this. That was one of my first tattoos actually. What my first tattoo was the luchador mask, and then after that, I had gotten the Undertaker symbol on there. But that's how that happened. Happened pretty fast. So,
Do you have a specific tattoo artist that you go to, or have you had different tattoo artists for all of your artwork on your arm?
yeah, so it's been like I would say different tattoo artists on my arm. And I normally go like for the conventions, and I try to feel out like who does what and their kind of like their art style, I guess, and see how they do. But if I can stick with the same artist, I will. But I do like to switch it up a little bit because I like a little bit of variety and just like I don't know. I think it looks cute when you switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And that tattoo looks awesome. You mentioned that you also were a big fan of Trish Stratus. I did see that you got a chance to meet her. Was that recent?
Yes. So, I think that was probably my third or fourth time meeting her. And she's always so sweet every time I go. Like every time I've met her, it's like a weird, different era in my life. But she just responds, I don't know, the way Trish does. I don't even know how to explain it. She just does. But she's so good. And she's so very friendly and so talkative about things. And she just wants to engage with you. And I love that about her. And I was happy I went. I wasn't going to go. So I was like, no, I think I'm going to sit this one out. And then I sat a little longer and I was like, no, I think I want to go. But I had a good time. I went and got to meet her and we got to talk a little bit. So it was nice. And she's just Trish, just being Trish. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. She's so fucking sweet.
Have you talked to her a little bit about your own pro wrestling career to her? Have you mentioned it to her in any of your meetings?
Yeah, so I've talked to her a couple times. This past few times I did talk to her about it as well. And that was like it was a very brief talk that we had because I mean she had such a long line. It was so long. But she was very like cool about I was like, what little things do you have that would be helpful towards my career? And that was the conversation that we had. And I did tell everybody I would not share that information with anybody because I was just like, I love that she gave it to me, and I was like, I'm just gonna like hold on to it. But she was so great about that. But I did get to talk to her about that.
That's awesome. Well, that's sweet. That's amazing that you could share something like that with Trish. I love Trish. I do wish I could see.
Yes.
I don't even. She's probably, is she on the more expensive side? I'm assuming.
Actually, we went. So it was for the car, whatever the car situation was going on there, and it was like $28 to get in. It was free to meet her.
Is it?
It was free to meet her, and it was free, and it also came with like a free like autograph. So like all that was free.
Damn,
the entire thing was free.
In the foot. That's amazing.
I was at work and I saw that she was in town because my job is in Franklin Park, so it's like really close by the Rosemont area. And I didn't know until like that Friday that she was there, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't! I would have gone. I was so close."
I saw it the day before, and I was like, "I don't know." I'm like, I could probably go. I'm like, I'm already off that day, but then I was like trying to make excuses for myself, and I was like, "Oh, I'll figure it out." And I was like, "No, girl, just get up and go." Like
that's the best too when you're on the fence about it, and you're like, "Well, I'm okay, maybe I'll go," and then you finally go, and it's actually like the best time.
Yeah,
I like those too.
No, I was happy I got up and went because I was just like, I knew that it would have bugged me if I didn't go. So,
Man. And it was at this Donald E. Stevens, or it's at that Rosemount Convention Center, huh? Yeah, that was
You,
close.
That's down the street.
yeah,
Kind
wrestlers
of
there
kicking
every
my
year.
own
Yeah,
ass
I used
for
to
that.
go every year. I met Daniel Bryan and Shawn Michaels there.
Why do you think they go to World of Wheels?
I don't know actually.
Cross
That's a good
promo.
question.
Yeah.
I guess cars and wrestlers go together. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I've seen like a bunch of wrestlers who go to World of Wheels and they have an appearance, and I don't know if it's some collaboration or something, but yeah, interesting. Maybe wrestlers like cars, I guess.
Well, it's also too the people who run it. They probably are wrestling fans themselves too.
Oh, yeah,
so
probably.
they extend the invite and they're like, "Hey,
Mike.
We're talking to you about Trish Stratus, and we asked about if she gave you any advice, but I guess I do want to then start talking about your own personal pro wrestling career. And can you tell us how you actually got into being a pro wrestler yourself? When did that start for you?
yeah, so I started in I don't know what year it was, but I was 27. And I started at Wrestle League, and I was training there for a lot of years. Very consistently. I was there every day, even on the days I didn't have wrestling. I was like showing up. It was me and my tag team partner, which was nice because I had somebody to like work with. But even when she wasn't showing up, like I was still just going to go at least and like get myself in the ring and conditioned, which was kind of nice. And I took a little bit of a break, and then I came back, and then I started again, and I stopped. And then this past year, I feel like was kind of where I really excelled, which was like I restarted up again with Wrestle League,
Mm-hmm.
and they're so great. I love everybody there. Like the locker room is such like a family vibe. I don't know how to explain it. I think it's probably just because I've been with them for so many years. Like I'm just so used to them. But everyone there is so great. Everyone's so friendly, and they're fun to work with. That's just it. And then I picked up and I started doing matches and kind of came around back again. I'm just like, all right, we're back in a cycle again, which is kind of nice because I wasn't really working at all. I wasn't doing any matches for a very, very long time. And then once Wrestle League picked me up again, I was like, it was nice to pick back up from where I started from, essentially. So.
And what does that look like in terms of promotions? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? What does that dynamic look like?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. Definitely a lot of like, I do feel like once I did Lucha in the park, that was so much fun. And I had a lot of companies reach out to me afterwards, which was great. And I got to kind of work off of that essentially. So that's pretty much it. But I would say for the most part, I would like to get myself back on track with like taking promo photos and getting myself back on track with just my own gimmick and getting myself together
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that I'm able to be like, yes, I'm ready to work, essentially. But I've had people just reach out to me, which has been really nice. So.
I'm always interested about when we talked to Coda Hernandez and Matt Nix too about training and what it feels like to take a bump, just landing on your back for the first time. For you, when you're doing wrestling training, like what do you feel like was the most difficult part of learning how to wrestle, and how did taking a bump feel like for you personally?
Yeah. So I would actually say, so it's funny because the first 6 months that I wrestled, or I trained at Wrestle League, I actually worked in a boxing ring.
Mm.
And that was pretty rough. And I would say the scariest thing that I had to ever work on was my flip bumps in a boxing ring. Because there's really no give in a boxing ring. It's just you're eating shit on the mat, It's just, it is what it is, and it's fine. And I feel like I learned a lot actually because it kind of makes you like hyper focused, where you're just like, all right, well, I'm not gonna fuck this up. I'm gonna make sure that I bump the right way when they tell me to, and that's it. So that's how I kind of learned. But I would say my scariest things for me has always been doing flip bumps. But I know it's not the scariest thing in the world, but I think it is.
What do you
I mean,
feel
it's like you're still.
go for it.
I was just gonna comment, say you're still like, throwing yourself in the air,
Yeah,
and then hoping for the best.
it is very scary. So I did gymnastics for almost 7 years. I was a gymnast for most of my life. So
Oh.
like I've done every kind of flip you could ever think of. But a flip bump, like where you're just like, all right, just tuck your neck and jump and hope that your arms hit the mat afterwards. It's scary. But I would say that's probably the scariest thing I've done.
In terms of putting together a match, how does that work for you? So I did see your triple threat. I think it was was it La Reina, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, with Lulu. I think it was
Yes.
I think my last triple that was with Lulu and Brittany,
Yeah, I think so.
probably.
Yeah. So how do you put together a match like that? Like, what does that look like for the
It's a lot.
balloons?
It's a lot. I will say the girls do such a great job at supporting because, like for me, it is a lot to try to process and put things together and put things into perspective. But they do such a good job of just being like, hey, like, we're gonna do like X, Y, Z, and this is the in between, and that's it. And they're so good about that. Like, anyone I've ever worked with has been so very like graceful about things, which I really appreciate because I feel like it's funny because I've been in wrestling for I feel like a while. It's been like what, like 7 years already. But at the end of the day, like actually putting a match together, like does not compare to anything. It takes a while. Uh, but it's very much like, all right, we're gonna do like 1, 2, 3, and it's like, all right, great, that looks good. And then you're gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then you're gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then after that, you just like put everything together, and the middle spots they just happen. I don't know how to explain it, but they just do. Like they just come together once you're in the ring because everyone starts calling things, but everyone is also so good at just about like calling their own spots, but they're also good about calling my spots for me when I feel like I need help. And I think that's the best part of wrestling is like you guys just like come together and it's like you want to tell this story so badly. You want to make sure that it looks good, Like
In terms of like your character, how did you put your character together? Where did those ideas come from? And can you kind of elaborate on what your current gimmick is?
yeah, so I've had a fun time with putting my gimmick together. I feel like there's a lot of things that go into putting a gimmick together. I will always say, like, even if I'm not the best wrestler, having a gimmick that's really good, and that you can express yourself with, I feel like that helps kind of like elaborate on things in the ring and changes everyone's perspective on how you are, like just as a wrestler in general. So for me, I was like, definitely want to do like heavy on like the Harley Quinn stuff for sure. But I want to start to kind of get past that a little bit because while I obviously love her, I don't want to be too on the nose about things. I do hate that about wrestling. Like, I don't want to be on the nose about things, but I think in the beginning, right now, it's fine. A lot of my stuff also kind of delves from like Melanie Martinez, where she does a lot of like crybaby kind of clown stuff also as well. So I play off of that, and I have her as like my entrance music.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of been playing a little bit off of that. I was actually today looking at new gear, and I am going to be not rebranding, but rebranding in the sense of making myself a little more defined, which is what I would like to do.
Yeah.
And then once I get back in the ring and I'm training more, hopefully a little more defined with the training and the wrestling aspect of it. But that's kind of where that comes from. So it's a lot of like clown stuff. It's a lot of like Harley Quinn, comic book, Melanie Martinez, it's a little bit of everything. So
In terms of like your
Okay.
rebranding, do you have like, are there concepts that you're currently like working through or ideas that you have right now, or is that still kind of a work in progress for your next evolution?
I would say it's still a work in progress. I'm going to definitely stick to the clown stuff for right now. That is still what I'd like to do. I would like to take it to the next level a little bit. I'd like to start doing a little more, I would say like, I like to do a little more pranking
Mm-hmm.
mid matches. That's kind of what my goal has always been. So I do have a lot of stuff that's just like sitting in my room that I'm waiting to use. So I've been kind of excited about that. So I'd like to try to see where that goes and go from there. And then just kind of rebrand myself accordingly afterwards. But like the clown stuff's not going anywhere for a while. So
Yeah, you should use like a whoopee cushion or something as a
Oh,
prank idea.
I've got some things in here. There's so many things.
So can you talk to us a little about when was your first match that you've ever done, and do you remember what that was like? Can you tell us a little bit about how that experience went for you?
Yeah, so I think my first match, it was in 2019. And it was me and my tag partner. We were supposed to have a tag match. And the girls that we were supposed to wrestle called off. So I wrestled Nick. Or we both wrestled Nick. And it was a 2-on-1 match. And that was essentially what it was. So we won that match, obviously. But it was pretty quick. It was easy. And I don't know, it was nice because I think like the crowd that we had, it was a Wrestle League show, and the crowd that we had was very small, and it was nice to be able to be like, all right, I can handle this tiny little crowd, which is good, which means that if I can handle this tiny little crowd, if I go somewhere else or if we go somewhere else, the crowd can get bigger and I'm not going to be so worried about it. So that kind of helped get me prepared for the next thing that I was going to do, essentially.
Would you say that a bigger crowd, do you feel like anxiety when you're going to the ring and dealing with like a bigger crowd? What are you more comfortable with, I guess, a smaller crowd or a larger crowd?
So I would say I like a larger crowd because I can just adjust myself to that. And I mean, I will always be so nervous every single time, but I can adjust accordingly. That's how I've always looked at it. Once I like came out for the first time for like my first match, I was like, I can figure this out. Like this is going to be fine. Like once you're out there, you're out there, and it's like you just deal with it and that's it. So I feel like I've had pretty like good sized crowds going forward, and I've just learned to be like, all right, this works for me, and we're gonna do it. We're already out here. It's like, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
So that's my gag. It's like you're already out there. What are you gonna do? It's like just work the crowd, enjoy it, and that's it. That's the most you can do.
Is that kind of like how you like psych yourself up before the match? Do you have any like pre-match rituals that you do to hype yourself up?
No, unfortunately, I wish I did. I actually just kind of stare at the wall. That's usually I just kind of stare at the wall and get myself like hyper focused, and I'm like, all right, we're doing XYZ tonight. Like we've already talked about the match 20,000 times. I'm sure these girls are sick of me. Like they're tired of me asking them what we're doing. But I just like hyper focus on what I know I'm about to do, and that's it. I have to chew gum, otherwise my life is going to be ruined. And it's like once I'm out there, like we're good. Like once I can sense the crowd and I get a feel for where I'm at, like emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
Like everything's fine, to be honest. It's so funny because it's like in the back, you're just like, oh shit, I gotta go out there. Once you're out there and you're out there, you're just like, yeah, I'm out here. It's like, this is great. So.
What do you feel like has been the most physically demanding match that you've had, or something that you've had to deal with?
Yeah, I think I don't I don't feel like any of my matches have been super physically demanding. I think the most demanding one was it might have been the first match that I came back with, which was a triple threat with Lulu and Brittany.
Yeah.
It was like a candy cane on the pole match. And I took a lot of spots that I had never taken before, and I was excited about it. But I think that was probably it, to be honest with you. I'm looking to take something that's much more demanding, though. I'm looking for something a little more hardcore. So hopefully in the future, that's what I'm looking at.
So in terms of like, you talked about how your character is inspired by people like Melly Martinez and Harley Quinn. How did you get into in terms of Harley Quinn? Were you into like Batman, or did you like the series as a whole, and then you found Harley Quinn to be an interesting character? How did you start reading their comics and that kind of stuff? Where did you start getting interested?
So I don't even know, to be honest with you. I think it might have just been like I was probably just reading Batman comics, and then I like fell into her, and then it just like spiraled after that, to be honest with you, because I feel like once you start doing a Harley stuff, it's like there's nothing after that. You can't like try to fix it, or like if you're into Harley Quinn stuff, you're into Harley Quinn stuff. If you're not, you're not. I feel like that's what the gag is with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have always been into like comic books. So like I have so many comic books. But I definitely did start with that, and then I fell into the Harley stuff, and I gave it a little bit, and then I fell into the Suicide Squad stuff. And I know it's not a good movie, but it is actually a great movie. I hate to tell everybody that. I'm so sorry that 2016 is the best movie. But that's
Is that the first one or the second one?
The 2016, the first one's the best one.
That's the very first one. Okay.
So I mean, that's the Harley that that walked and crawled, so like the other Harley that are on could like, get up and run. So just like everyone should just be grateful. But I just think it's a solid movie. I don't care what anyone says. That's one of my favorite movies. I watch it all the time. So but yeah, that's how I got into it. But yeah, once that movie came out, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I think I'm onto something here. Like I got some ideas.
Did you like Birds of Prey? Did you like the Birds of Prey?
Oh yeah. I love Birds of Prey. I love Birds of Prey. I don't love it the way that I love Suicide Squad, but that movie is just so like, it's so, I don't know, it's just so like Harley like centric, like, and it's her as like kind of a good person, but at the end of the day, she's really not a good person. Like it's whatever. But it's such a good movie though, because I feel like it showcases her and her own talents that she has, and I'm like, this is fucking great. Like, yes, absolutely. So yeah, love Suicide Squad, love that. Like, we were living the dream when it came out. So.
Joker 2, Harley Quinn, Lady Gaga. How do you feel about that?
I didn't even see it yet.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Just because everyone said it was bad, I was like, should I bother seeing that movie? I wasn't sure.
Okay, hold on. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad. I liked it. She was very delusional, which was what I was looking for. I just needed a woman in this movie to be totally delusional, and that's what I was like, yeah, this is great. This movie's gonna go so far. I wasn't happy with like all the musical parts of it because I hate musicals, but I thought it was good for what it was worth. Like I thought they worked well together, and it was what it was. But it's not gonna be Suicide Squad 2016. So
it's not the same. I mean, I will say Harley Quinn, it was definitely a highlight in the 2016 version. Do you watch the Max show with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy? Because that's a really good show. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes. I'm behind by one season. I do fear to say this out loud. I'm not a Harley Ivy girl.
You're like
Chip
you don't
in
want
that.
you don't want that romance.
I like them a little bit, but I will always argue that Ivy is not, they're fine together, but I would say Ivy's no better than the Joker. She knows how to withhold affection from Harley when needed, so I just feel like if you're both doing the same thing, you're really not that much better than the other. So I'm a little picky about it. I'm a little picky. I'm a Joker Harley girl. Just figure it out, girl. You'll be fine.
So we talk about your pro wrestling career, and of course, I mean, you talked about the Attitude Era and how women in pro wrestling have been. I mean, it's been a huge shift. That's I think that's kind of an understatement in terms of like how women have been portrayed in wrestling. And you talked about in the past how you grew up watching the Attitude Era. How do you feel like you compare like the current era of women's wrestling and the Attitude Era? Do you find any like redeemable qualities in like Attitude Era wrestling, or even we can talk about like Ruthless Aggression with like the Divas titles and things versus now? What are your opinions about like the shift in perception and your own view on women's wrestling?
There's an insane shift. Obviously, the Attitude Era. Growing up, I always felt kind of slightly embarrassed watching wrestling with my dad and my uncle because I would just feel like, obviously, it's like weird women things. They're making women do weird shit. It's like, God, I gotta sit here and watch this, you know? Bark like a dog. Like, shit, that's not fucking weird. But growing up and watching that, and then getting to see the little differences, I feel like was really interesting because I almost don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like watching it was kind of like a healing way, like a healing thing to, oh shit, like they're letting women like do things, like actually like progress in their careers and letting women like learn things and letting women like do stuff. It was like interesting because I didn't have that, but I felt like every time I had that, I would get scared because they would give you one good thing and then they would take it back. Mm-hmm. Like it would always be like, yeah, we're gonna have like a women's title match and it's normal, and then like just kidding, because after that we're gonna have like a bikini match,
pudding match,
like 2 matches after, and it's like fuck, like I was like, oh, it was so close, like I thought something cool was about to happen and we were about to keep it, and it's always been, that's kind of what it's always been. And then just like growing up into an adult, being like, all right, I don't need to feel like I'm scared that this is going to get taken away from me, because it's not going to. Like, this is like, yes, we're having a women's title match, we're having a women's mid-card match, and then we're going to have just a regular women's match for the sake of like whatever the fuck it is we're doing. Mm-hmm. And they all get to keep their clothes on, and they all get to do whatever they want. Like, it's just like, it's so like refreshing to be able to be like, I can like watch wrestling normally and like without that feeling of being uncomfortable. So that was like the biggest thing. It's like, I think, I don't even know at one point that my body started untense, but it just did. Just untense, where it was like, all right, we could just watch wrestling and it's going to be normal and we're all going to enjoy it, even the women. Like,
yeah, I mean, like for me, like you said, it's like they had these nuggets of like great feuds and rivalries. Like you had people like Victoria, Molly Holly, Trish Stratus having her feuds with Lita, and Mickie James. Like you have these moments of brilliance, and then it gets padded with, you know, like you said, bikini matches, wrestling and pudding, or turkey gravy, or whatever it is for
literally anything. Yeah.
So I think the shift is, I don't think there's any way of going back to what it was. I just don't think it's possible, especially with how big wrestling has gotten. For
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think that where we're at currently, I don't think that I don't think it can go back. Because everyone's so smartened up to what we're doing at this point. There's no way. Like there's too many smart wrestling fans at this point. Um, and it's like if you were to try to do that, it's it's just detrimental to the product. It doesn't make any sense at all. So,
Well, in terms of as a woman in pro wrestling, because we're talking about how the vibes have shifted and the perception of women in wrestling has shifted. Have you had any? How's your experience been as a woman in the indie circuit in pro wrestling? Have you had any challenges, or has it been different? Has the difference in like the larger scale of wrestling, has it also reflected your own personal experiences wrestling?
yeah, I think I might just I think it's I think it's just myself, to be honest with you. Anytime that I felt like there's some sort of shift in a scale where I'm just like, oh, I gotta make myself smaller to fit here and there, or just like work with things. I don't necessarily think that it's like the indies itself. I think just for me growing up, like I know what I grew up with and the products that I grew up with, and it kind of hurts me a little bit when I'm trying to present myself, because I feel a certain way already, and I think that's just like the way the product has been driven into me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to like unlearn what I've learned from all these years, which is quite unfortunate. And I feel like anybody that's probably my age will also tell you the same thing. Like they're trying to unlearn the way of like the divas per se. Like I don't want to know those things. I want to know the way the girls that they're working now. Like I want to know those things, and I want to unlearn those, which what I feel is like detrimental, which is like the diva way of things.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will say, well, like the diva, it's like that's not like a bad spot, and it's like it's not, but it kind of is at the same time. I guess it kind of depends on how it affected you. It depends on. I think it's individual for every different woman wrestler. Like it affected me in a way where it was detrimental. It did not help me at all, and was very unhelpful to my career. And like coming forward, trying to get into wrestling made it harder for me because I felt like I had to fit into a certain mold and made things difficult for me just as a person when I didn't need to feel that way. And I feel like a lot of the girls that are coming up now, they probably don't feel that way because they might not have watched the product that way. So they feel differently. But it is what it is. And I'm just like, you can unlearn certain things and you can adjust a certain way. But I'm just like, at the end of the day, I feel like I saw that stuff and I'm just like, I kind of wish I never saw any of the Attitude Era or the Diva stuff. Like, I wish I didn't see any of those things because it kind of sucks a little bit. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of like, as you go into wrestling, and this is kind of like what you grew up or you're used to, you do have these preconceived notions when you're, going about your own wrestling career. And I guess that kind of leads into my next question in terms of for indie wrestlers, and I guess even wrestlers in general, because the birth of social media, I feel like, is so fascinating. And we kind of talked about this in our last episode in terms of, is kayfabe dead? Is the concept of kayfabe dead, or has it evolved slightly? Because every wrestler, I mean, indie wrestler, people who are on the WWE and AEW, they all have social media platforms, and you follow them, you see their day-to-day lives and activities. And the lines are blurred considerably versus The Undertaker, who we talked about previously. He would be in character on and off camera, and he basically, it wasn't until like 5 or 6 years ago where now he's on reality shows. He talks about his life openly in terms of like how he came across, just talking about this is my character and all that kind of stuff. How do you feel like social media, do you feel like it's beneficial for indie wrestlers? or do you feel like it's detrimental? Because, and I guess to add that context, it's like, before social media, sorry, Kat, like trying to get noticed and those kinds of things, I feel like it was kind of difficult. You had VHS tapes and things you can trade. You'd go to local bookers and wrestle. But now I guess there's this opportunity to sell yourself, like through promo work. You could do promo work on social media. People can see your clips much more easily. It's much more easily accessible. How do you feel like social media affects like your wrestling career, and how, I guess general commentary, like how do you feel like social media has how has it worked with wrestling in its current state?
Yeah, so it's very interesting actually, because I've always been like I'm a big Undertaker girl, so it's pretty much the way he was so protective of his gimmick,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure it's like, no, like what you see is what you get, and you're gonna keep following that same kind of like product and consistency. And I feel like I've always kind of been the same way. Like people ask me questions, like when if I'm out, like they'll ask me questions about wrestling, like, well, how do you guys put this match together? How do you do that? And I'm like, I'm not telling you that. Like, what the hell? Like, you can't just ask me that. Like, that's crazy. Like, I'm not gonna tell you. Like, that's part of the magic, you know? Like, you gotta protect the business a little bit. And I feel like I've always been like, I've gotta protect the business, like for the most part. Even like with myself, like, I made sure like whatever gimmick it was that I was doing wrestling, that it's something that I am like married to. So it's like this clown stuff. I'm fucking married to the clown stuff, you know, like just gonna do it and I'm gonna keep going with it. And that is my shit, like regardless of what I'm doing right now. Like I gotta stick to it, and you always have to stick to your gimmick. And I feel like that should always be the gag. Like you protect the gimmick, you protect the business. But I think that right now it's hard to do that because there is so much exposure at this point. Like you really can't protect it at this point at all. And even like Taker, like he knows he can't protect it at this point. It's just kind of like it's so open-ended, which is fine, but a little bit scary at the same time because I feel like it's like, yeah, I know all I know is diva stuff and attitude era stuff, but I've also just been known to be like, all right, Taker said protect the gimmick. We gotta protect the fucking gimmick. Like you gotta keep it unlocked, you know, you gotta like keep it special because that's where the magic is and that's how you keep people coming back. But I think right now with social media, I think the gag is that people see what they want to see and they're learning things, and that makes them more intrigued. And that's great. Like that's fantastic. But also sometimes it's not that great either because, you know, they start learning things, then they think they know everything. And it's like, all right, actually, you can take it back a couple steps. Like, but I mean, social media, it's fine. Like, you can't avoid it. It's like, you're kind of stuck at this point. Like, you just have to go with it. And I feel like Taker is also almost forced. It's like, it's literally like a social media gun to his head. It's like, he has no say in this at all. It's like, he just got to figure it out and be like, all right, I'm going to have to like, go with it and talk about it and discuss it, and that's it. Otherwise, he has nothing at this point, you know?
Yeah.
But it's nice to like get to hear all his stories and like things like that. I can go without the Blue Chew ads, to be quite honest with you. Those are wild. Watching him talk about this.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Wow.
nonetheless, I mean, it's great all around though. Like I do appreciate getting to hear the things that I probably normally wouldn't hear. And I do love that. I know, like, obviously Jim Cornette's gonna say whatever the fuck he wants to say, which he always has. I do love a good corny story. So, I mean, it's a little scary. It is scary. Like I find it scary for just the way I've grown up and like what I've always thought is like. I've always been very hardcore Takers, like protect the gimmick, you know, just protect the business in general. And then growing up, I'm like, oh shit, like everyone's like everyone knows what we're doing. Like, what's going on here? That's kind of scary, but it's also kind of nice and refreshing a little bit because people want to learn. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
And you could use, I mean, you could even use it to your advantage. And WWE has done it in certain instances where they take advantage of social media. Like, for example, when they did it looked like it was like someone who's in the crowd took a camera, video footage of Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens like fighting in front of his bus. And they just uploaded it on social media. So there are interesting creative ways like you can use it to your advantage. Like obviously everyone knows a lot of the business has been exposed. I mean, people understand that it's a work. But I do feel like social media can be used to still blur those lines where you're not necessarily sure if this person is actually mad at this person. Are they working against an angle? Like, I think there are definitely creative ways to do it. And like you said, I feel like you have to adapt with it because it's probably not going to go away anytime soon anyway until we come up with a new concept for communicating with another human. So we're slowly wrapping up, but I do want to ask you about the other side of your personal life is the vet tech stuff. And being a vet, how do you balance the two, being a pro wrestler and then having this job, helping cats, dogs, hamsters, and everything in between? How do you balance the two?
Yeah, so I feel like this is so silly. I feel like it balances itself, because I feel like the aspect of restraining animals it just keeps me like in the loop with things. So I'm like, I gotta be a little forceful, like, I gotta flex a little bit during the week. But like, yeah, like helping on like restrain animals and just working with them in general, it's like, I don't know, it's just like, it's nice. And there really is like, it's a weird contrast. None of it makes any sense, to be quite honest with you. The only thing that makes sense is the restraining part, where I'm just like, yes, I get to like make sure I keep my arms like in work and in balance the entire time. But I feel like also if like a client will like, I'll talk to a client and I'll just randomly like try to make conversation with them. Like I'll bring up like things that I'm like into, try to like bring them into stuff. And when I bring them into wrestling, like I feel like they're very receptive about things.
Mm-hmm.
And I've definitely met a lot of people on accident through doing that, like with wrestling, where they're just like, oh, this is actually really cool. And they're just like, oh yeah, you wrestle? And they're just like, we're definitely coming back. And I'm like, I mean, yes, you should come back for sure. Like, don't come back just because of that, but like, you should come back for sure. But it's funny because I'll bring it up randomly and I will get a lot of people that are just like, yeah, the girl that wrestles. And it's like, that's me. But I mean, it doesn't correlate too much. The only time it ever correlates is when I gotta hold a dog, essentially. I wouldn't even say hold a cat. I'm scared of holding cats. I'm scared of cats. So.
Oh,
Do you talk like? How did it initially like come up in conversation with your coworkers? Do you just like casually bring up that you're doing the wrestling thing, or how does it? Do all your coworkers know that you are a pro wrestler?
I don't know if all of them do. If I'm just like wearing my hoodie that I shouldn't be wearing, my hoodie that's just out of uniform. Sometimes I'll have like a freelance hoodie on, or my Fall Out Boy one. But if I have a freelance wrestling hoodie on, nobody really questions it, or like any of my wrestling stuff that I put on. But I think for the most part, it'll come up in conversation when they just ask me what I'm doing on the weekend, and I feel like that's when it's like, if I'm wrestling that weekend, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm wrestling this like next weekend, like, and they're like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm doing this, and like explain it. And that's how it ends up as a story. So
that's awesome. So I guess we are slowly wrapping up, but I did want to ask you another question in terms of like your advice that you'd want to give people who do want to break into wrestling. what kind of advice would you give someone who's still kind of curious? Maybe they want to start training. What would you say to those people?
Yeah. I would say, like, particularly women, just do it. Like, that's it. Just, I don't care like what age you're at this point. Like, just fucking do it. Get up and go. I think that wrestling is so broad spectrum right now. It's like you might feel limited, but at the end of the day, you actually really aren't. It kind of just depends on what you're doing and like how you present yourself, I would say. But I would just say, like, get up and go, because I took so long to get into wrestling, and I wish I would have not taken that long.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I would have just got up and just did it. And I feel like I would have had more opportunities, but it's like I'm at where I'm at and I'm happy with it, and I'm going to keep working off of that. But I just feel like if you're going to get up and go, just get up and go. That's it. So.
And for your own personal aspirations, what do you hope to accomplish in the next couple of years as a wrestler?
Yeah, I would say I'd like to ideally be just wrestling like consistently. I think that would be my main goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even worried about titles or anything like that. I mean, I'd like to have a little hardcore match, or something a little like rough around the edges. But I would like to just be consistent in wrestling in general. That's my main goal for the rest of the year. And I know that's like, I feel like that's like an easy ask, but it is a lot to ask for in independent wrestling right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, just booking and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we do wish you the best, and please keep us posted. We definitely want to have you on again. But that does it for this episode of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. Tune in next time for more wrestling madness. Until then, keep marking out.